There's the idea of practice makes perfect, but other people say, no, perfect practice makes perfect. So you have to have like perfect interpretation, etc. technique while you're practicing in order to get better. That's great and all, but you also need to push your hands and brains to play and think a little bit faster than you can play perfectly. So for the last like 5 to 10% of your practicing, go faster than you should, like 5 to 10% faster than your hands can actually play perfectly. And then that's going to help it so that you can over time slowly start to build up your chops and train your brain to think and play a little bit faster than you can comfortably. I was taught this way, and then I got early signs of carpal tunnel. I got the popped vein. I got some tendonitis. Like it was just all really bad. And I was probably doing the technique that you're using where you're squeezing really hard, because my instructor told me that you should be able to put like a small coin on your hand and have it not fall off whenever you're playing. So your wrist should not move at all. So it was all finger technique and whatnot. And oh boy, let me just say, did that lead to all sorts of wrist issues and whatnot. I would not be able to drum right now if I still played with that technique. So you want your hand to not change when you add in the diddle, and to sound the same when you do the double stops. It should still sound like one hand, but with a popping sound instead of like a flam like that. You want it to sound like this. The check should not change what your hands are doing. So this is called isolated diddles, and you can practice it from 20 to 160 beats a minute, all for free, link at the top of the screen. So a swung diddle would sound like, and if we were doing triplet version of, so that's like a fun variant of a grid that you could do. And then just swing the diddles. Etc. The way that I learned how to play fast was by slowing things down. So you'll see me practice this stuff at 40, and we'll gradually go up one click at a time, sometimes by 5s, find that gray area and then sit there and work with it and refine the technique, and then slowly get a little bit faster. That's where I spend about 80% of my time. The remaining a little bit of my time, like if I'm doing like an hour-long session, I might spend the last like 5 or 10 minutes chopping out. So let's say you can play the spree at, I don't know, 140 if it's triplet or something. On those chop out portions, to play it at 145, you're trying to train your brain to think a little bit faster and your hands to play a little bit faster than they actually can. It's also giving me some data to figure out, okay, what can I slow down and work on for the next time that I'm refining my technique the next day. Now, the goal when working on stick control is to get a nice even sound. It should sound like one, or even one sound, just like cut and paste for every single one of them. So whether you're playing with the right or the left hand, try and get it to sound the same. You want the velocity to be the same. Same angle going into the stick, same amount of volume coming out of the pad. I tend to tighten up my shoulders when playing dense roll passages like triplet rolls above 165. Any tips on how to put this tension at ease? If your drum height is too high, it's going to make your shoulders tighten up. If that's not an issue, then what I'd highly recommend is slowing this down. So like on my website, all of these exercises in the timestamps in the description, you can jump to any BPM. So yeah, you could play it at like 165 like you mentioned, but what I'd really recommend doing is going all the way down to like 40 and playing that. It helps me refine my technique, so that way the way that I'm playing slow is ideally how I want my technique to look when I'm playing fast. If 165 is your maximum speed, go faster than that. Try 170, try 175. So if you keep pushing your hands a little bit more each day, then it can make it so that the places where you're struggling with before can get a little bit easier. When I do these practice streams, sometimes it's me just spending like an hour refining one thing and trying to get better at it. Other days, like today, Sunday morning chop out, just feel like playing for fun. And so when people go online and like comment on other people's playing, like you don't know what their goals are. You don't know what their technique is. There are many ways to play, and you don't know like why they're posting this. So just going and critiquing somebody without even asking if they want that critique can come across as pretty rude and arrogant. So don't do it. We don't need more negativity in the world. we've got enough of it. One of the easier things that you could do instead of jumping into the chop exercises is check out the grid variations on here. There's over 500 of them now. So these are some great things that you can work on, like these sticking variations. Work on these and you can play them like with different limbs. So like make your right hand your right foot and your left hand your left hand. So that way you're playing between the bass drum and like your snare drum or something, and like play through these variations. There's also the 16th note variations. Like there's so many things that you can do, especially in these first couple with the stickings, the diddles, and the flams. Once you get into this hybrid rudiment stuff, it's more for like marching stuff, but that hopefully is helpful for you. One of the 600 plus grid variations is diddle sticking on here. Actually, there's 4 variations. So there's 2 in triplet and then 2 in 16th note. If you go with like a 9-inch accent and like a 6-inch tap, so you'd play like... something like that, and go all the way through this and like work on it at whatever speed that you're able to get through it. Because again, all these play alongs, you can go at whatever speed you want. So this one, you can go as low as 20 beats per minute and then scroll all the way down, and you can go as fast as 160. And that's a good way that you can work on your diddle strength. All of these variations are great for working on flams. The alternating flams variations, as well as the flam on taps. Flam on accents, also another good one. For all of these play-alongs, you can go into the timestamp and jump down really slow. For this one, it goes as slow as 40, or you could go as fast as 200, whatever you want to do. And you can speed that up to whatever speed you want, but that is a fantastic way of working up your flams, in particular, the floppy ones, the alternating ones. And there's 38 variations for triplet, and then if you go down to the 16th note version, there's 54 variations of flam stuff on here. If anyone else is watching this, what would you recommend for working on floppy flam? We'll go until my hands spontaneously combust. Enjoy this ASMR stream. Woo! You can go all the way down to 20. If you go that slow with this stuff, that can significantly help out with playing these. So that's why I make these play-alongs so extreme in terms of like all the way down to 20 BPM, all the way up to 160 BPM, etc.